Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, depending on where you're tuning from on this fine day. I am Catalina with the Outpost, and we are here today for today's webinar, DoD's AI Roadmap 2023 and Beyond. Our amazing presenter today is Mr. Michael Grimes, VP AI ML Portfolio here at the Outpost. A little bit about Michael's background. He's a startup founder and tech evangelist experienced in building AI and ML solutions for the DoD. He joined the Air Force out of high school and had an 8-year career as a crew chief KC-135, a stratotanker in the Air National Guard. He has more than 20 years of experience in building startups and closing multi-million-dollar deals. In 2016, he was inducted as a Franz Edelman Laureate for his contributions to AI and machine learning while working on the first fielded machine learning decision support tool for warfighters fielded in Afghanistan that saved tens of millions of dollars in support costs and saving countless lives by reducing the number of support missions to forward operating bases by support maintenance personnel. His stated mission on coming to the Outpost is to help companies bridge the valley of death and ensure advanced and valuable technologies get in the hands of the warfighters. Michael, we are super excited to have you here today. How are you?
Pretty good, and thank you for that warm introduction, Kata. Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Grimes. I am the VP AI ML Portfolio at the Outpost. I'm really looking forward to talking to you all today about something that I'm very passionate about and an area that the DoD really needs help with. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence and machine learning, and basically how to get this technology into the hands of the warfighter faster by identifying what the DoD is looking for, and also how you can find and identify the right DoD customers who are looking for your technologies. Next slide, please. So it's all about the data. And actually, Rob Iyer just said that at AUSA this week, a couple of days ago. I tagged it first, though. Just want everyone to know that. The military is really starting to realize that you can't skip steps in implementing AI, and that it really does come down to the types and kinds of data that they're using. I mean, currently the AI marketplace in the military is $13 billion, and it's estimated this year that they had actually spent somewhere in the neighborhood of $15 billion. So the DoD needs to get better governance and control over their data. The Craig Martell, the new CDAO, which is the Chief Digital and Artificial Intelligence Office, said more attention and energy needs to be paid to data, and he will be implementing and making public a hierarchy of needs this first quarter of 2022. And he's also creating many different areas of research, test, evaluate, and implement AI technologies within the greater DoD. One of the new things that they're doing, they rolled the JAIC, which was the Joint Artificial Intelligence Center, up into the CDAO now, and they're getting about a $500 million budget. And they're going to be rolling out a marketplace, kind of a one-stop shop for artificial intelligence. It's going to be in conjunction with Army Contracting Command out of Rapid City, I believe. And then we have what is the Indiana Innovation Institute, so IN3. They're going to be partnering, and they will have a consortium that will be putting out these offers as what they call the Tradewin Marketplace. And we'll get to that later in the slides today. Next slide, please. So right now, the DoD is looking for data analysis, and it's the key to the DoD success. They really kind of skipped some steps when they were fielding these first test solutions for AI. They were saying, hey, we have a bunch of data. What can you do with it? Now they understand that they did have a lot of data, but it's very hard to get to. It's unstructured, unlabeled, and they don't really understand what all the value is that is in it. So if you have solutions that can solve these problems, the DoD needs help today. The other one is automation. We see this increasing in its performance and the outcomes and the number of solicitations that we have out there. And then the other one is human and machine teaming. And then we're going to throw a little surprise one in there that's getting bigger, but hasn't gotten a lot of traction. Then we'll also talk about the different organizations that fund artificial intelligence and how you can reach out to them, where you can identify and find MOU customers and end users if you're going direct to phase 2. And also with the new CBER-CIDR rules, everybody is going to have an open topic now. So this is going to open up a much greater potential for you to get business with the DoD with these open topics. Next slide, please. So what does the DoD need? Well, they need accessible and digestible data. They need it from a wide variety of sources. They have many silos of information. They need it from their weapon systems to military vehicles, to any of the censored or IoT equipment that might be out there. And they need to be able to actualize on that data and use it. So they're going to need high value information that can be as simple as anything as converting unstructured data into readable or structured data. Maybe to see when a maintenance action might be needed, or something as complex as using sensor data to fly an unmanned aerial combat vehicle in formation with a live pilot flying next to it. They're also going to need stuff that's useful in high pressure situations. So think on the move, when this new information and new issues can arise as adversaries adjust, or they need to work in congested or contested environments. They need to be able to access that data very simply and easy. And then, of course, we need good DevSecOps, and now even MLOps, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But you got to test for vulnerabilities and ensure you know what your software bill of materials is. How are you going to get this data to them? The other thing is they're going to need it in different formats and from different destinations. How are you delivering it to them? What formats can they use? Cloud, on-prem, on edge, or tactical edge? All of these different use cases are out there, and you just need to discover who's looking for your solution today. Next slide, please. Automation is the next thing. And so automation is another popular area right now with the DoD, and with new consortiums being basically stood up. We just had one that was announced at AFA, and many other solicitations coming out in this past SIBR round. So automation is really about reducing the time and complexity of command and control actions in your real world environments. So most types of processes, you have robotic process automation, which is really making kind of the day-to-day tasks easier, anything from inventory control and paperwork to more advanced, maybe accounting or receiving information. Then you have autonomous aerial systems. So these are more complex systems, and that involve more understanding what the battle space is. So you have human machines working together to basically overcome that processing problem. And the advanced software techniques and the advent of machine learning and deep neural networks has given them capabilities to respond faster and respond quicker when they need it. And then, of course, robots. We can't talk enough about robots right now. There's a lot of different types and flavors, but they all require unique algorithms and techniques and tools to improve how these robots can work and navigate complex environments. Anything from the U.S. Army Scalable, Adaptive, and Resilient Autonomy System, or SARA program, to more simple robots, which are unmanned UAS that are just sent for simple control and spiral routines, where they're just looking at a set area and they're set on a loop and might just fly in a specific zone, looking down at that zone. Next slide, please. So human-machine teaming is an area that I know and love. That's where I was building my solutions for. And this is really more about augmenting human intelligence. This capability is a hot sector right now. It uses both big and experiential data. So it's not all about the big databases. This is getting experienced knowledge out of operators' heads. So really a lot of knowledge engineering in this process. But the DoD is really looking at things like image tracking, target and adversary identification or classification. Decision support models for maintenance and operations. So think of flight line operations or crew chief maintenance on an aircraft. There's a lot of need for AI in those sections that can make the operators perform more like experts without as much training. Or if they're working in the ACE combat environment, you give them the ability, if they don't have the normal support functions that they would have at a base, they can perform these jobs without that support. And then also threat and model assessment in motion. So this is, think of dismounting from a vehicle in a combat zone. You want to be able to see what's going around you and make decisions based upon that visual data. So the human and machine teaming is all part of that. Next slide, please. So one of the other big things and what's really on the horizon is ML Ops. I'm sure a lot of you have heard about this. The DoD is just getting around to this, but it's going to be a very popular item in the future. So this is really, machine learning is a hot space that is going to be about, setting the table to make sure that you can move from a test environment to a production environment and have all of the tools in place, just as if you were launching normal software. So you're going to be, just from your models and creation, you're going to go actually into planning and packaging and verifying that information. And then once you get to release, it's going to really start over again. You're going to have to still go through that test and verify process, but you're also going to have to worry about securities and vulnerabilities. And then you're going to need to test your model once it goes into a larger data environment and you're getting real-time data or accepting real-time data from different sources. So this is a fundamental area that if you haven't looked into, I highly recommend that you get into it and start looking at it, because your solutions will need to follow these processes and procedures if you want to get into the DoD. Next slide, please. So now we're going to talk a little bit about who is buying artificial intelligence. And this is kind of your ecosystem, innovation ecosystem for 2022. It's getting big. There are more and more organizations that are all about innovation within the DoD. You have both Department of Defense, you have the different branches. So Army, Air Force, Navy, all have different units within them that are responsible for these things. It's very complex to navigate. The Outpost would be happy to talk to you about how to get entry into these organizations, and we can help guide you in some of those ways. But it's important that you start engaging early with these organizations. And for artificial intelligence, the CDAO is going to be very important to that. If we go to the next slide, please, we can talk about an easy way for everyone to now get in with the Department of Defense if you're in AI. And that is the Tradewin Marketplace. So this is DoD's new upcoming marketplace for AI and data analysis tools. So it's anything from your machine learning models to AI for visual recognition, or if you're looking at doing any kind of data scrubbing or data analytics, you can post your technology on this website, and there'll be white papers. And I believe there's even going to be video. So you could do like a 3 or 4 minute video pitch deck. The site really isn't up now. We expect it to go live in 2023. This first quarter of 2023. So this is something that, go visit the site. You can register now. When you go to the site, it'll actually ask you to go to another site to register. But once you register, they'll start sending you information. So this is going to be an invaluable tool. Next slide, please. And then you have all of these different offerings that the DoD has. You have everything from accelerators, which are like Techstars or Allied Space Accelerator if you're doing stuff in space. There's different challenges and organizations that host those challenges. If you've ever worked with the Air Force and AFWERX, you know the AFWERX challenge. Well, there's also challenge.gov. Dreamport is another one. ERDICWorks has their own challenges. And even hyperspace challenges is another one that you can go and explore. But these are really where they're exploring opportunities. There's not always contracting opportunities, or it might be smaller dollar amounts, but they're great visibility and they can help you get in with potential buyers. So they're very good to work with and find out what's going on. From there, we have the different incubators, SoftWorks and IQT. Capital Factory in Austin, Texas is another great one. These are really where you can learn about the defense and dual use ecosystem. And the Outpost is another great resource for that, of course. But these are where you can find people that are mentors and that will help you understand what is needed to work with the Department of Defense. They can do cold or warm introductions. They have on-site events that you can attend and pitch your products and services to people that would be potential buyers. Then we also have the different funding opportunities, which are kind of non-governmental sources of investment in your technologies, but they're associated tangentially with the Department of Defense. So you have things like Catalyst Accelerator or InQtel are great organizations that can help with those types of needs. And then, of course, the different government contracting authorities. So these are basically your organizations like AFRL, AFWERX, Army Applications Lab. They can actually issue contracts for your programs and projects, and they'll actually put out solution briefs, or they'll put out solicitations or RFPs or RFIs that you can answer about these technologies. And then we have the different connector organizations, and this is really more of the defense innovation marketplace. Think of this as where government and industry meet and get together. So these are AFWERX, ERDICWorks, SoftWorks, basically all of the works families that are out there, as well as Naval X. You can attend events with them. They have webinars that are very good informational summits that you can go to and meet potential buyers, or they can help align you with people that would be interested in your products. Next slide, please. So then why the Outpost? Well, we're here to build billion-dollar competitors to the primes. That is our goal. We also want to help companies bridge that valley of death and get to the next stage, taking them from phase ones and phase twos to TAC-FIs and strat-FIs. We want to help you grow your business. So our team is consisting of AFWorks and SpaceWorks pioneers, guys that started these organizations, as well as people like myself who worked in the startup and contracting and what was a small business owner myself. And we're basically passionate about ensuring your company hops that valley of death and get you to the next stage. Next slide, please. So some of our success stories, we've had 100% success rate on strat-FIs and TAC-FI submissions. Right now, we've done over 25.6 million in those. We've had over, actually, that number's a little low. We've actually done about 340 million in non-dilutive and contracting. So somewhere in the neighborhood of 340 contracts out there since our inception in 2019. So we know what we're doing. We're experts in this area, both from the civilian and the DoD side. And we're happy to answer any questions that you may have or just help you in any way that we can. Next slide. So this is just a range of our services. We can help you with any of your cyber or other governmental needs. We're basically really popular in helping with TAC-FI, strat-FI, any of your cybers, phase ones, phase twos, but we also work on getting you phase threes or other growth type opportunities. If you have contracts that you've already won, we're in that fun area of selected, not funded, and you want to see if you can get funding on that, contact us and we can see if that's possible. It's not easy, but there are our programs and ways that we can find dollars for you potentially. Next slide, please. Now, we would like to open the floor to any questions, but if you have any questions, you want to reach out or find out more about the Outpost or the DoD, or if you want that slide of the ecosystem, send us an email and we will respond to you and send that slide out so you can get that whole 2022 ecosystem. So,
thank you so much, Michael. We have one question in the Q&A section.
Sure.
What are your thoughts on Jake's recent roll-up into another organization in the Jake Trade Initiative?
Well, so I think it's great that they're rolling it up. I think it's very important that we now have Craig Martell as the CDAO and that is all being rolled into a single organization, because now we're going to get a single view from the DoD of what they're looking for. They're going to put out their requirements. This marketplace that they're putting together is going to be an incredible resource for small businesses. We're going to have an opportunity to have a marketplace that the DoD can go and look for technology. So if you're already doing business with the DoD in some fashion, you can show them that you're doing business with them and they can easily find you. If you're not doing business, this is a great tool to get introduced to them and so that they can actually see what your company is offering and how your solutions differ from other competitors.
Awesome. If anybody wants to ask Michael any live questions, you can raise a hand and we can allow your mic to go live, or feel free to keep dropping questions in the Q&A box. Let's give a second there. All right, Michael, there's anything that you want to share with the audience that maybe you didn't share during the presentation?
No, I just think the most important thing is to understand that, AI is still in its infancy within the DoD. There's a lot of programs and there's a lot of talk about it, but they're still working out their requirements. And it's important that you are working with somebody that understands what those requirements are and how that is a changing landscape, and to kind of prepare for those in advance. So you can't really go in blind when you're offering these solutions, because there are a lot of barriers to entry. So you want to make sure you're working with a mentor or a group that can help you do that.
Perfect. We do have a couple of questions here. One is, what's the biggest mistake you see companies make when they work with the government?
Well, I think it's very important that you have a dual use commercial strategy. That is highly important because government contracting is complex and takes time. So you can't, even if you win a $1 million deal phase two, you can't expect that you're going to win another one, next month or even next year in some cases. And getting, working through that 2 years on that type of contract, you want to make sure that you're putting the right plan in place, that you're bringing people in that are going to carry that ball for you and get you to a phase three. But if you're working on the commercial side, you have the time to do that. If you don't have a dual use or commercial side, you will end up in the valley of death, and it's very hard to get out of there once you're there. So it's very important that you concentrate just as much with what you're trying to do for the DoD, that it accelerates your commercial side as well.
Awesome. Then we have a question here. What is the best way to find a government customer?
Reach out. In all honesty, there are seminars, symposiums, webinars, things like this. They're great ways to find people that are engaged or interested in learning more about your products and services. I highly recommend that you join the AFWERX calls when they're talking about their cyber releases, and you do the same with the Army. SoftWorks has a whole bunch of events. Try and attend live events that are in your areas, or reach out to local chambers that are in your state or city that also work with the DoD or are incubators for the DoD.
Perfect. Then we have a question here. How do you typically connect companies with technical points of contact?
Well, we'll basically look at what your technology offering is, and then we're going to look and see where that would best fit in the use cases that we know that are out there. So if you're doing satellite imagery work, which is a discipline of AI, where you're using video to recognize things that from a very far distance. Well, that would be different than if you were building models that are going to basically scrub data or read text from a voice file and create a text file that's in a labeled, structured way. So we connect you with the right organizations that are looking for those types of technology. We're not going to put you in the Army if you're looking to do satellite work, and vice versa. So it's very important that you're aligning your message with your buyer audience.
All right, here's a cool one. Is the DoD actually ready for AI when their computers don't work?
Yeah, they are ready for AI, but they're taking it slower. They're starting to slow down. For a while there, they were charging out the gates, and you heard about all these predictive maintenance programs that were launching, and they were doing a lot with the data they had. And now they're really thinking about, okay, we need to really understand and kind of get a handle on our data much better. So if you have technologies that can take unstructured or unlabeled data, or listen to voice files and convert that into usable structured data, they're really looking for those solutions again. They really understand that it's the quality and not the quantity of data that they have that's important. So I think they're taking a slower approach, but they're doing it the right way. There's going to be a lot more programs and solicitations that are coming out that are really going to be programs, I think, that will live on, compared to 4 or 5 years ago when they first started doing this. You had a lot of programs that launched and then disappeared. I think they're taking a much better approach right now than they were then.
Great. Then we have, what organizations are the best ones to engage with and share our ML tech?
What type of ML tech?
What organizations are the best ones to engage with and share our machine learning tech?
Well, it would depend on what you're doing with that. So can you expand on what ML discipline you're using, or what your product or service is? And I could definitely answer at that point.
Okay, let's wait and see if
because everyone right now, there are lots of buyers of ML and AI. There are a lot of potential buyers out there. So if you're looking for if you're looking for something that's with data, you're going to be more at the PEO level. If you're looking at something that is more with operations or maintenance, you're going to be more at the wing level, and you're going to be working with maybe field services, or if in the case of the Army, you might be working with CCOM's LRC, Logistics Readiness Command. Those types of organizations handle more of that day-to-day type of stuff, where it's the lower end tools that aren't so much big data concentric type tools. They're more in the field. So it really depends on what that tool is or what you're trying to offer to them.
So would you say it's about the use case? And
Absolutely about the use case.
yeah.
There are a lot of different ways to peel an onion, and ML and AI have a lot of different ways to do the same thing. So your tools, you might think that the best entry point is, go into wherever big data is, and like in Army, they got Big Army. That's a huge database. You might think, well, let's talk to Big Army. And then you find out that Big Army really doesn't do anything with that data. They just manage the database, where it's the other organizations that are looking to glean information from that. So that's where we can help you navigate all of that. And that's the important part. It's understanding how to navigate that process. That's really where the Outpost, and one of the reasons I came to the Outpost, is they're experts at this. And we've got a phenomenal team, and we cover all of the Department of Defense. We're, for the majority, we're all prior service in some form or fashion. Some of us are still active duty. Joey still does his reserve duty. So we're still doing our time in service. So
Wonderful. Yeah, I would say the same. Just reach out to us, and we can schedule a call and help you navigate through those. And we have one final question, which is, what is the appetite for agencies to grant security clearances to unclear personnel on the contractor team?
Well, it depends if it's a requirement of the contract. It's not really something you have to worry about if you're going in SIBR or SITR initially. If it requires that you'll have it, the government will find a sponsor for you and then take you through or explain that process. But initially, if you're going for a phase 1 or phase 2, it's not as important that you have one. They're not going to be sending you or working, providing you top secret data to build your models off of. If you're going to be doing something like that, then I would suggest that, when you're putting that in your contract, that you would put it, one of your milestones would be getting clearance. So that could be worked into the contract.
That is wonderful. So thank you, Michael, so much for your time today. I believe this was incredibly insightful. You guys have our information, and we will be sending both the recording and the slides after we process them. And if you have any questions, just, reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. Have everyone a wonderful day today.
Thanks, everyone. Take care.